Welcome to Football Game Plan's Power Rankings here on the Game Plus Network. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. The college football regular season is done. The Heisman Trophy finalists have been named. So we'll talk Heisman finalists. We'll also talk college football playoffs. But first, we like to always start our show with our NFL Power Rankings. The Cincinnati Bengals remain 32nd on our list. Unfortunately, they weren't able to post back-to-back wins last weekend. I think what's been wrong this year for the Bengals has been consistency on the offensive side of the football. Now, granted, they've had many opportunities in that game against Cleveland to put the Browns away, but inconsistent quarterback play is what doomed them. Their offense has been more concerning than anything, in my opinion, which wasn't supposed to be the case with first-year head coach Zach Taylor at the helm. He was brought over from the Los Angeles Rams for that specific reason. On a team that features formidable talent at the skill positions, even without A.J. Green, much more was definitely expected on that side of the ball this season for Cincinnati. Eli Manning's inspired play couldn't rescue the Giants from a bad loss to the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. Big Blue held a 17-3 lead in that ball game and let it slip away in the second half. One of the major reasons why was that their star player, Saquon Barkley, barely touched the football in the second half and more egregiously in the fourth quarter did not touch the football. That's not playing winning football if you're going to ask me, but on the bright side, we started to see improved defensive play from the Giants against Philly. Outside of the last and most important series of the game, the defense definitely showed some fight, and I like what I saw from rookie outside linebacker O'Shane Ximines, who finished the game with 2 sacks on Carson Wentz. Now, the Giants are at home this week against the Miami Dolphins, so we'll see if they can finally snap their franchise record 9-game losing streak. Moving on to teams 26 through 30, and the Detroit Lions have dealt with a ton of significant injuries on the offensive side of the ball this season. They've lost their starting quarterback, Matt Stafford, starting running back, Kerryon Johnson, and starting tight end, their rookie first-round pick, T.J. Hockenson, all for the season. Now, that'll definitely make scoring the ball very tough in the Motor City. Washington's injury situation is no better, especially with regards to second-year running back Derrius Guice, who suffered an MCL sprain against the Green Bay Packers, essentially sidelining him for the rest of the season. And the Miami Dolphins nearly grabbed their 4th win of the year against the New York Jets, but a 4th down pass interference call helped the Jets stay on the field and subsequently get the game-winning points. Out in Arizona, the Cardinals are on a 6-game losing streak, and it really doesn't seem that way considering all of the noise of progress that you're hearing on the airwaves. The fact of the matter is that all of this perceived progress has to start to translate into victories in the win column. And to be honest, rookie quarterback Kyler Murray has to be better in situational football. At times, he's too quick to slide, too hesitant to make a throw, and has looked a bit indecisive on the field. And yes, some of this is your natural rookie ups and downs, but they are also part of the reason why they've been on this 6-game slide as of late. And speaking of losing streaks, the Jacksonville Jaguars have lost 5 games in a row, and honestly, it doesn't matter who is the starting quarterback for the Jags either. There's a lot of issues going on with Jacksonville. They can't protect the ball. Defensively, they aren't the same dominating bunch they've been over the last 2 seasons. And on top of all of that, they can't stop the run. Now, the good news is that there are 3 games left in the season, and that's enough time for them to get things right and build some positive momentum heading into the offseason, as there will be a lot of decisions they'll have to make for the 2020 season. Moving right along here in our Week 15 NFL Power Rankings here on the Game Plus Network, the Carolina Panthers are in a downward spiral, and in my opinion, firing head coach Ron Rivera wasn't the best of ideas, but we'll see who they'll bring in moving forward. The Atlanta Falcons have been one of the more disappointing teams this season considering their talent level, but to their and head coach Dan Quinn's credit, they've played much better since their bye week a few weeks ago. And what a great win for the Los Angeles Chargers last weekend against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their offensive explosion is what many of us expected to see from them on a consistent basis this season, and we'll see if they can carry that momentum into their next game, as this is usually the time of the year where the Chargers make their patented run to close out the season. Quietly, the New York Jets are sitting at 5-8 on the year with an excellent shot to finish at 500 on the season. It's been quite the 2019 season for Gang Green, and you can probably break their season legitimately into 4 parts. And right now, we're in the 4th quarter of their 2019 story, and we'll see if the offense, which has been improved, can find a running game to close out the year. To me, that has been more shocking than anything else offensively. The Jets have to be able to run the football in order to win down the stretch. Looking at the Denver Broncos as they're coming off of a beatdown of the Houston Texans. It looks as though they found their guy in rookie quarterback Drew Lock, who's given them some much needed juice in the passing game. And I've said numerous times on this show and other shows that this team has played very hard for first-year head coach Vic Fangio all season long. And when you see the progress from rookies in quarterback Drew Lock and tight end Noah Fant, to go along with other young offensive studs and wide receivers Cortland Sutton, Deshaun Hamilton, and those two tailbacks they have in the backfield, the future is definitely bright in the Mile High City. Next year could be a big one, in my opinion, for Denver. Let's take a look at teams 16 through 20. The Oakland Raiders have gone from a really good story to a complete disaster in the last 3 weeks, all of which were losses. There was one point during the season where we had them in our top 10. It's been a tough back half of the year for the Silver and Black. Both Dallas and Indianapolis need to find some victories in the worst way possible. They are in similar situations as the Oakland Raiders, once highly thought of, to now fighting for their playoff lives. But not all 6-7 records are the same. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing some really good football right now. Quarterback Jameis Winston, despite his flaws, is statistically similar to Peyton Manning at this juncture of his career. The difference for Manning and what could eventually help Jameis is a reliable running game. Peyton had both Marshall Faulk and Edgerrin James in his first 5 seasons. Jameis had no one of that caliber to lean on in the run game, and as a result, he's been shouldering a heavy load throwing the football, which leads to forced throws and interceptions. Just something to think about moving forward, and I do believe the Bucs will re-sign him in the offseason. And the Eagles got a much-needed win against the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. Because of that win and how they got it done, with Carson Wentz driving them down the field in both regulation and in overtime, you can safely say that they are playing much better ball than the Dallas Cowboys, who still lead the division. And if Philadelphia wins out, they will win the NFC East. We'll take a quick commercial break and be back with more Football Game Plan Power Rankings here on the Game Plus Network. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website ninethandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW in his latest album, Season 2. You can check that out on iTunes as well as doyoumusic.com. Nesby Phipps, art, life, entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app. Getting back to our power rankings as we move on to teams 11 through 15, the Cleveland Browns find themselves at 6-7 on the year and still have a good chance to get to at least 500, but with a bit of consistency, they could even get to 9-7. Now, consistency hasn't been the name of the game for the Browns, but what has been just that has been the play of Nick Chubb, who currently leads the NFL in rushing. The Chicago Bears was able to keep their positive mojo going after knocking off the reeling Dallas Cowboys last Thursday night, and the Buffalo Bills, who are sitting at 9-4, are one of the better teams in the NFL that still worry me. I have all the faith in their defense and what they were able to do, but not as much in their offense. And if quarterback Josh Allen could just start to connect on some of those deep opportunities that present themselves in this ball or in the game, my trust level will definitely increase exponentially. I like the little run that the Rams are on right now. They've blown out the Cardinals and dominated the Seahawks in the last 2 weeks, pushing their record to 8-5 on the season. As long as Jared Goff can continue to play with the level of confidence that he's shown in the last 2 weeks, the passing game will definitely flourish. We're also starting to see an uptick in the productivity of running back Todd Gurley, who is a huge part of what they do on offense. And on the defensive side of the ball, they've started to look a lot like the defense we saw last season. Maybe not as overly dominant, but definitely not like what we saw from them prior to their 2-game winning streak. And if they can keep this up, they'll be a problem moving forward. Speaking of being a problem, I believe that aptly describes the Pittsburgh Steelers, who currently own the 6th and final spot in the AFC playoffs. Head coach Mike Tomlin, with the win last week, clinched his 13th consecutive non-losing season as a head coach. It's been remarkable what he has done with an ever-changing roster. This year, he's 3-0 with his undrafted rookie free agent quarterback in Devlin Hodges out of Sanford, and has quietly turned the Steelers' defense into a top 10 unit. They're in a great position to get the 5 seed, and with an outside shot of winning the division if certain things break a certain way for them down the stretch. Pittsburgh is a team that I would not want to face in the playoffs. Moving right along as we hit the top 10, the Houston Texans suffered an embarrassing loss last week to the Denver Broncos, one that now puts them in jeopardy of missing the playoffs completely if they can't beat the Tennessee Titans in a battle for first place in the AFC South, because once again, this team has to continue to win, because not only do they have to worry about losing the division, but with teams like Buffalo and Pittsburgh holding those 5th and 6th spots, it could push the Texans out of the playoffs. That game headlines one of the bigger matchups on the Week 15 slate. Minnesota just quietly goes about their business, getting another big NFC North win, this time against the Detroit Lions. And I say big win because that used to be the type of game the Vikings would definitely drop. But they went out there, took care of business, and got the win. And the Seattle Seahawks give me the same vibes as the Buffalo Bills. Despite their great record, I still worry about them long-term this season. To me, they are a bit inconsistent from week to week. No team in the NFL has enjoyed the back half of the season more than the Tennessee Titans, riding a 4-game winning streak in 5 out of the last 6. The Titans are getting it done on both sides of the ball. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill has been exactly what they needed offensively, as he's been able to unlock the passing game, which coincides with rookie wide receiver A.J. Brown balling out of his mind. It also coincides with the success of the run game with Derrick Henry, who has 4 straight 100-yard rushing games. Defensively, they are active, aggressive, and do a great job of taking the ball away. So to me, they are unquestionably the hottest team in the NFL right now. Over in New England, the Patriots are coming off of a loss to Kansas City, and once again, we question whether or not they have the offense to be a Super Bowl contender. That'll be the ongoing concern for them moving forward, but what they have is a strong defense, especially on the back end, and an opportunity to get better offensively, as the young receiving core will only get better. For Tom Brady's sake, he hopes that comes sooner rather than later. And now we enter our top 5, and at number 5 are the New Orleans Saints. They're coming off of a tough loss to the San Francisco 49ers. I would consider that a bad loss, seeing how they lost that football game with Marcus Williams grabbing the face mask of tight end George Kittle. But some of the positives that you can take from that ball game was how explosive the Saints offense looked. You just want to see them lean on a run game just a little bit more to perhaps close out a ball game if they find themselves in a shootout situation. Green Bay has done a great job just maintaining the course and have been the pace car, to be honest, in the NFC North. Can they continue to progress in the run game, finding an identity on offense? If that's the case, they'll be a scary team moving forward. And quietly, San Francisco, with all of the speed and explosiveness that they possess on the offensive side of the football, I have now become a fan of what they are doing out there on the football field. Defensively, we know they were outstanding. Offensively, with all of the talent and depth they have in the backfield, we're starting to see Emmanuel Sanders become even more so of a playmaking threat. He's been that guy since he got there in San Francisco. But now when you add that, along with what they're getting from Deebo Samuel, along with what they're getting from George Kittle, and the effective play of Jimmy Garoppolo, this offense, along with this defense, clearly looks like the best team in the NFC. At number 3, I put the Kansas City Chiefs. Despite their 9-4 record, I like what I'm seeing from their defense. And I think because they've improved so much defensively, it has made them one of the more dangerous teams to keep an eye on moving forward, because we know their offense can score. We know they have the ability to work touchdown and check down the passing game. The running game has been a good complement, maybe not dynamic, but it's been good enough to where it can keep them offensively balanced. But their defense, with the way they're getting after the quarterback, with the way they're turning the ball over, with the way they're covering on the back end, it definitely makes Kansas City one of the premier teams in the AFC that you want to keep an eye on. But there is no other premier team than the Baltimore Ravens. We've seen them win games in a multitude of ways. We've seen them win with Lamar Jackson throwing for over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. We've seen them relying on him to be a runner more than a passer. We've seen them lean on their ground game, sans Lamar Jackson, and we also saw them win with their defense. So Baltimore, by my estimation, is the most complete team that we're seeing right now in the AFC and perhaps in the NFL. They're having so much fun out there. They're playing well with one another. They are definitely the class of the league right now at Week 15. We'll take a quick commercial break and be back with more Football Game Plan here on the Game Plus Network.
I love football. I cannot get enough of football. I watch it on every level.
The emotional release. Whether it's an exciting play that gets you all jacked up and juiced, or whether it's the fact that you're able to pour everything you have. Whatever frustration you had that week, you can put into that first kickoff coverage, that first block that you have, whatever it might be.
And I couldn't think of anything better to do to fill that void that you have as a football player than to get into coaching.
You get a chance to release a lot of emotion that you otherwise have no place to release. There's nothing else like that.
Again, the relationships you build and the people you're around and watching the guys compete, not just on the football field, but in life after they get done playing. It's just an amazing game.
Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Financial Coaching LLC, Investment, Retirement, Security. Stewardship Credit, financial growth is in your hands. Stewardshipcredit.com. Adrienne Marie Photo, photographer, writer, management. AdrienneMariePhotography.com. Lock Multimedia.
Well, the game of football has taught me so many things, man. Now, think about the huddle we have right now, right? I tell people this all the time. There's a reason why they call it a huddle. People have been huddling all their lives, trying to find ways to enhance each other's lives. The great teams do that all the time. The great teams do that. The better the huddle, the better the team. And so it's simple, man, how if you huddle for all the right reasons, we wouldn't have Ferguson. We wouldn't have some of the challenges that we have in our society. But as we all know, there's always a moment when somebody doesn't belong in the huddle. And yet we have to continue to move on. We got to continue to play. So the game of life, man, is always starting with a huddle. And for me, I'm lucky enough to know that, by the graces of God, man, it's been a nice huddle. It's been a nice huddle. And if I just keep making sure that he's in front of me, I'm gonna be all right.
What's up, NFL fans? I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and don't forget to check out and purchase your copy of our latest football game plan book, Stiff Arming Football Myths. We have these available in both PDF and paperback form. Welcome back to Football Game Plan's Power Rankings here on the Game Plus Network. And with the Heisman Trophy ceremony this upcoming weekend, I thought it would be good to give some thoughts on the candidates and handicap the race and how I think it will play out on Saturday night in New York City, starting with who I think is a lead dog in this race, and that's quarterback Joe Burrow out of LSU. The numbers speak for themselves: 48 touchdown passes, nearly 78% completion percentage, and nearly 5,000 yards passing, all coming from a quarterback that plays at LSU. That right there is unheard of, and a big reason why he's in New York City for the ceremony. Burrow, in just his 2 seasons, could go down as the greatest quarterback in program history. While Jalen Hurts can't stake that claim at Oklahoma, he has definitely been a consistent star at 2 major programs, with Alabama being the other one. He's also the first quarterback to play in 4 straight college football playoff games. Oh, by the way, he's putting up video game numbers as well. Hurts has thrown for over 3,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, completing 71% of his passes. Those are great statistics considering the questions surrounding his ability in the passing game. I believe he's passed that test with flying colors. Also, what makes him a true talent and Heisman finalist is his 1,255 yards rushing and 18 rushing touchdowns. Hurts is a scoring machine, and he hopes to score a ton of votes come Saturday. At number 3, I have Justin Fields out of Ohio State. The true sophomore has thrown 40 touchdowns to only 1 interception on the season. Let me repeat that. 1 interception on the season. That's hard to do in practice when they let you catch the football. He's done a fantastic job stepping in for Dwayne Haskins and building on his own great legacy in Columbus. Fields, like Hurts, adds an added dimension to the ground game with his ability to run the football. He has scored 10 rushing touchdowns on the season for the Buckeyes. And finally, Fields' Buckeye teammate Chase Young checks in at number 4. The fact that a defensive player is even a finalist speaks volumes to the type of impact he's had on the field this season, the last one being Tyrann Mathieu, who was there a few years ago. Despite missing 2 games because of an NCAA violation, Young has accumulated 16.5 sacks, 21 TFLs, and 7 forced fumbles. Just ridiculous production for the 6'5", 265-pound defensive end. Young also has 31 solo stops this season, which is another absurd number for his position. Now, he's hoping to be the first predominantly defensive player to win the award since Charles Woodson won it back in 1997. So that's it for this week's episode of Football Game Plan's Power Rankings. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating, and keep it locked here on the Game Plus Network all week long for Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show and our College Football Tailgate show Thursday and Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Check with your cable provider for channel listings.